now I'm recording our class, and that way if anybody misses the first class because of whatever reason, people can go back and watch it, because we're going to go over what the outline, what the expectations are. Let's see here. Kirk, I'm the only one old enough to understand that reference. That's probably good. Let's see here. Oh, I've got Haley in there too. Okay, so Daniel, thank you. Who else is in Ponca City with you? I'm gonna have to ship you all a microphone if that's how it's gonna go. I'll find one. I'll find a mic. Julia Browning. Okay, so Julia, can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I need to like get a bigger screen. Maybe we can get you guys like a 64-inch. Plasma is no longer a thing, is it? So we have to get like the 64. That shows you where I'm at. Now they have like 84-inch TVs, so 84-inch LCD screen. I think that's still a thing, isn't it?
Mr. Randolph.
Yeah. Hey, Frank.
I'm going to turn off my computer because I've got it in this classroom. Let me see.
There's the Jimi Hendrix feedback that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, that may be me. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'm gonna move forward. So can you still see me, Frank? I don't think so. Maybe he can jump back in. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first misnomer. This class is named Substance Abuse Counseling. It's not going to be just substance abuse counseling. We will spend a lot of time talking about substances, but that doesn't really encompass addictions. That's one thing that we've really started to recognize in the past 20 years in the field, where we used to put all this energy into we're going to control drug use, we're going to control, we have this war on drugs, we have this war on people with addictions. And there are more addictions than just cocaine or alcohol or tobacco. There are a lot more addictions out there. And so what I'm going to do, even though the class is entitled Substance Abuse Counseling, we're really going to talk about addictions counseling. And so first thing, if you remember things that I say, when I like am talking about different drugs, please know that we can easily substitute and move in other things that people are addicted to. Because there's people that are addicted to a lot of different things in our society. And we'll talk about those as we go throughout this class. So before I go in any further, I'm going to go ahead and share. I do have PowerPoint up for us. I'm going to go ahead and share our PowerPoint, and we'll get started that way. So because I've been known to go off on some tangents, and so it's good to keep me grounded on the PowerPoint and moving forward that way. So I know you can't see it yet, but I'm working on it. And here comes the slideshow. And we're going to duplicate. Maybe. Display settings. Duplicate slide. There's Frank. Frank's coming back. Okay, can you see the slide now? You good? Everybody's good? Okay, cool. So this is Addictions Counseling Advanced. I petitioned the university to change the name. It still has yet to be changed. We will meet via Zoom every day, Mondays and Wednesdays throughout the semester, except for Thanksgiving week. We're going to have Thanksgiving week off. Do we get Labor Day off? I think we probably do. I think that's still probably a holiday. So that, we'll meet every day except for Labor Day and then the Thanksgiving break until the first part of December. So mark this off on your calendar, etch this out, even though you're not on campus or you are on campus. Etch this out and make it a place where you can be as a group every Monday and Wednesday for the next, what do you think? Next 3 months?
You have to mute your audio.
I'm still getting some Hendrix coming in. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. Every once in a while, Jimmy will start coming in with a solo. All right. So we're going to talk about addictions counseling, and we are having grads and undergrads. That's the two different codes. The first thing I want to do before I go any further is I know some of you because I've had you in classes before, and some of you know me because you've had me in classes before, but there are quite a few of you that I don't know. And so for that reason, and I want us to get to know each other. One of the things that we will do throughout the semester is that we will get to know each other fairly well because we're going to interact a lot. It's not going to just be me like today. I'm going to do a lot of talking today, but I like to hear a lot from you, from y'all throughout the semester. So that way it's not just, oh my gosh, where's my Twitter feed? What's going on here? That way Professor Randolph's class isn't just, oh golly, it's hard enough to pay attention via Zoom. So we're gonna interact, and that is why we are actually meeting via Zoom. When you have the graduate students counsel each other, we're gonna all back out of the screen. What you'll see is not this big Brady Bunch view of us, all of our little faces here. What you're going to see is you will just see those two people as they counsel. And so I see Brianna like, yeah, that's true. That is true. We can control, you guys have a lot of flexibility in what you do in Zoom. So you can you can make it to where you can hide people that aren't actually participating. So like Kirk, where I can't see your video, and Jaden, where I can't see your video. That is going to be one of the things I'm going to require. So that way I know that people are still with me in the class, and there's not just this empty, hey, is Taylor Randolph still attending Zoom? I don't know. He might have gone to the bathroom. So that way we know that you're actually here, you're actually in attendance. So that's one of the things we do need to have the video. Another thing that I'm going to really require. I'm going to be less strict early here in the semester, but as we move on, when we're actually the students are actually demonstrating counseling, I'm going to require like some privacy, because we're going to talk about some real stuff. We're going to talk about, if we've like fought an addiction to heroin, or we've fought an addiction to meth, and it's something that's pretty sensitive to talk about and you don't want to share it, don't share it. That's your prerogative, okay? However, there are things in each one of our lives. For instance, each day when I wake up, if I don't get a big cup of coffee, I fight a headache all day, and that's an addiction for me. It's not, obviously it's not as dysfunctional as if I were, a raging alcoholic and this thing was filled with vodka, and who knows, maybe it is. Maybe that's why I, just really don't care sometimes. But we just don't know what I've got in my drink. But what we can be sure of, that there are some things that exist on a spectrum where we get addicted, where we have cravings, where we have urges to do things. Could be, maybe it's gaming, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's online shopping. There are a lot of different things that people can be addicted to. So you're actually each one of us are going to have a journal it's optional. You don't have to do it, but I have a feeling people are going to do it anyway, because I'm going to twist your arm, and you'll see how. So the reason why that we're all meeting via Zoom is because if Tiffany tried to counsel Kimberly, and we're all in this, and they're in the same class, actually, let's see who would be in Enid. I'd have Frank, and I would have Heidi, but you're not graduate students yet. But I would have Paul Cassetti, I'd have Kimberly and Daniel, and in Alva I'd have Brianna and Leslie. And if Brianna and Leslie were trying to counsel each other, so Brianna, tell me how you feel about your life with COVID. Is everybody really feeling my emotion right now? How are you ready to talk to me? So just, we have so many nonverbals that are communicated through our face and our facial expressions. This is a better format if you're going to have to socially distance and counsel somebody. So that's the reason that we're meeting via Zoom, and obviously to keep each other safe. But we are going to do that. We are going to model counseling to see what it's really like, and we're going to step in and try it. So without further ado, I'd like us to go through introductions. And so this is what I'd like you to mention as you introduce yourself. So you're welcome to maybe get a paper and pen and write these down, because I'm gonna actually stop the screen share here so we can see each other a little better. So the questions I'm going to ask are, okay, what's your degree program? And you might tell us what campus you're on, where you live, since we're all in strange spots and we don't know where we are. What you do, if you're a full-time student, that's cool. If you're a full-time parent, a part-time student, if you work somewhere, just kind of explain a little bit about yourself that way. If you don't mind, if you have any experience with drug and alcohol treatment, not necessarily you being in treatment, but maybe a loved one or you knowing about somebody that went to addictions counseling, or maybe you work at Bill Johnson. I mean, just tell me about your experience with drug and alcohol treatment. And if it's something that you don't feel comfortable sharing, you can skip that. I'm not going to put you on the spot for it. I would like to know what you want to get from this class. What are your expectations when you signed up for this? When you saw substance abuse counseling on the schedule, and you're like, hey, I want to take that. What do you want to get from this class, and how are you going to use the information? That could be those two could go together. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead, since I'm kind of can see everybody. I'm going to go ahead and call on folks. And Brianna was like the first one here. So Brianna, that's your penance for being early. If you don't, whoops, if you don't mind, please take us through your answers to those questions. I can put them up there if you'd like them.
Oh, I got them. I already wrote them down, but
Okay.
no worries.
Okay.
I am working on my master's of counseling psychology, and I'm on the LAD and LPC track. I'm currently in Alva. I work at Bill Johnson Correctional Center here in town. I'm a treatment counselor out there. We do psychoeducational work with substance abuse inmates, experience with drugs and alcohol and all of that. I have a few really close family members who have struggled with heroin addiction and with alcoholism their entire lives. And then obviously working out there, I hear a lot of stories, a lot of testimonials. And then what do I want to get out of this class? Just more information. I think there's so much that you can learn, especially from substance abuse and different kinds of addictions like you were talking about earlier, whether that's exercising, TV, computers, whatever it is. And then just being able to take that information back to, sorry, she learned how to laugh lately. So, but taking that information back and then being able to utilize that in my career and even in my own life. You were talking about caffeine earlier. My first supervisor made us give up something that we were like addicted to. When we gave up caffeine, I had headaches. It was incredibly uncomfortable, and you don't realize it until you try it. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm glad you've had that experience of trying to change an addiction. It even those that are kind of benign, like caffeine addiction, it causes some pretty significant, pretty significant symptoms when we try to change it.
Yeah, and she was trying to show us, like, if it's something that little for us, imagine someone who does have a heroin addiction,
That's good. And I'm glad she scaled it in that way, because there are some certain qualitative differences too. So, well, welcome, Brianna. I think if you're on the LADC track, you'll definitely find some good information in this class. All right, let's see who is next. I would like to hear from, let's just go to Tiffany, since you're the next one that pops up on my screen.
Sorry, spacebar didn't work to unmute it. It does that occasionally. I am in the Adult Education Management and Administration Master's Program here at Northwestern with my emphasis area in psychology. I work at Northwestern's Enid campus as the campus coordinator and Veterans Affairs coordinator. I have not really any experience with treatment of addictions. As far as personal experience, I had an uncle whose wife passed away very suddenly. He had smoked, gave up smoking, started drinking more heavily, picked back up his smoking habit, and then there was some gambling issues in there too. So that would probably be my personal experience. I think we're probably all addicted to something, however small or severe that is. Haven't decided what I want to pick to study about myself yet, but I'll figure it out. And then as far as what do I want to get from the class and how I use this information, I kind of come from a student services background. So I hope that'll be applicable to my job and something I can pick up, especially dealing with students on a daily basis.
Yeah, yeah. So addiction crosses a lot of barriers. Really, it's all socioeconomic levels. It really doesn't discriminate on race or gender or anything like that. So yeah, it should find some applicable information for sure. So welcome. Okay, Karen, you were next up.
Okay, sorry, I was muted.
Hey, no worries.
So my name is Karen, and I'm in the Alva campus. I'm currently in my major is general studies, and I don't have really any experience with drugs or alcohol. I know my uncle passed away because he had a drinking problem, but I was too young to understand the reason why he passed away. And the reason why I was interested in this class is actually last year I took my first, I took general psychology my freshman year, but I took some psychology classes last semester, and I was very interested in them. So when this class came up on my plan, I was really interested in taking it. And I hope to just gain more knowledge on what really an addiction is. I always thought just an addiction is just drugs and alcohol, but I guess it is true. Everyone's addicted to something. I know my mom's addicted to pop, and she tries to give it up every year, but it never works.
Yeah, sugar and caffeine. Those are two big ones that people, they kind of benign, but then you get too much of it and it causes some pretty bad things. So welcome,
Yeah.
Karen. I'm glad to have you in class.
Thank you.
Isis. Oh, I'm sorry. I think the mute button is still on.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, well, I'm in Woodward. My major is in social work. I'm a senior, and I am taking this class because my minor is in psychology. I have worked in NCVH directly with the mentally ill, and also people who abuse substance abuse users. I am currently working at the Domestic Crisis Center here in Woodward. And that's the reason I'm taking this class. Minoring in psychology, majoring in social work. I feel passionate about it.
Very cool. Very cool. I'm glad to know some of your passions. I supervised before I started teaching. I was a licensed supervisor for both people that are LPCs, professional counselors, and LADCs, drug and alcohol counselors. And one of those folks worked at the domestic violence shelter here at the YWCA. And those were some of the, most complex cases, because of all the different facets of relationship, of economic power and struggle and codependency issues, and then also substance use issues mixed in, and just a lot of complexities to the women that were treated by my supervisee. I learned a lot as a supervisor from her.
Yeah.
So it's I'm glad to hear where you're at and what you're doing. So welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Lacey.
Hi, I am a undergraduate student in Ponca City. I'm majoring in psychology and minoring in substance abuse. Currently, I work in an investment advisor's office, so it's a little bit different. I'm taking this class mainly because I don't have really a close personal experience with substance abuse. I mean, I know people in a roundabout way, but not, you know, in my inner family or friends have really been through it. And so taking this class is important to me for, you know, when I do go on to have a practice someday and am working as a counselor, to have a better knowledge of, you know, what all it entails and how, you know, different people deal with it and the signs and symptoms and things like that.
Yeah.
I guess this class basically, I'm wanting to get a better understanding of addictions in general and how to treat people.
This
in
is
the future.
this is a pretty honestly, Lacey, this is a pretty comprehensive course in that our graduate course, actually there are 5 addiction-centered classes that help people become licensed alcohol and drug counselors. And this is one of them. There's actually a class or 2 that help inform this one. One of those is psychopharmacology, and I see a couple of faces of folks that were with me in psychopharm in the spring. That's also something that undergraduates can take. There's a class that's only open to graduates, and I wish it were open to undergrads. It's Advanced Addiction Studies, and it solely is kind of theoretically looking at addiction in the brain and the body and society, and it really informs what we do in here and why we do the things that we do. So that's actually probably a good theoretical base to come into here. This one here, I'll touch in on some of those concepts early, but then like I said, we're really going to go into hands-on application. Like, what do you do with somebody when they have an addiction? So we're really going to jump into, you know, treatment ahead, especially the last half of this class. Maybe 75% of this class is hands-on learning. So hopefully you'll come away with something good. Nice to have. Nice to meet you. Lacey.
Thank you.
Okay, Kimberly. Kimberly Simmons, yes. Sorry, I should have specified.
Okay, I was like, oh, there's 2. I don't know which one you wanted.
You're good.
I am going for the MCP, hopefully getting in, or I'm going for the MCP, hoping to get an LPC when I'm done. I'm a stay-at-home mommy to 4 kids that are at home right now. We are homeschooling, which is going to be fun. My experience with drug and alcohol treatment, as far as treatment, I have 0 experience, but I did grow up with a brother who had an alcohol addiction. And what do I want to get from this class? I want to work with teens and young adults, and so I'm hoping that, you know, everything in this class I can put to use with them. And then, you know, how will I use the information? I just said that, so yeah.
Yeah, cool. You know, working with teens and young adults, we do have 2 or 3 sections, 2 or 3 weeks where we'll focus solely on adolescents and the treatment techniques and approaches working with adults, since that's so many times when addiction starts. I have experience working with adolescents who are, you know, on probation with juvenile affairs, but also with an adolescent drug court. I worked 2 years as a treatment provider with an adolescent drug court here in Garfield County. Some of my favorite work, as far as like what I was actually doing as a counselor, I can think of no population I liked working with better. And you're like, well, you're crazy, man, working with adolescents. I don't know, for whatever reason, whatever it was, it seemed to click well. So I don't know that I'd be that hip and cool, since I'm, you know, that was about 14, 15 years ago. So I may have a different impression these days, but anyway, hopefully you'll find some things that'll be beneficial.
Good, I'm glad.
Thanks, Kimberly. Good to see you.
You too.
All right, Heidi.
Okay, well, I'm here on the Enid campus. I'm currently going for my bachelor's in psychology, LPC route. I am a stay-at-home mom right now. Honestly, the plan is to start working in January because I'm supposed to graduate this December with the bachelor's.
Yay.
And then I'll move on to the master's as well while I work. So yay. I don't have any personal experience with like addiction on drugs or alcohol, but my dad did actually have like the alcohol and pain pill addiction. So I've dealt with that personally, which that was, yeah, a nutshell. That's the, to gain from this class, I just want the knowledge, because I do want to work with kids and adolescents. And I mean, like you just said, addiction start at that age too. So that's kind of where I'm going with that.
Cool, cool. I appreciate, you know, you're kind of thinking in the long term and even down the road as a graduate student. And
Yeah.
this is a, you know, for folks that are out there, if you're an undergrad and you're like, yeah, I don't know about this class, you know, honestly, I'm not going to ask too much for you to demonstrate as far as an undergrad, but I am going to ask for your input on what you think about how the graduates are doing as counselors. So when the graduates are actually, oh, look at the grads, you're like, oh my gosh. When the graduates are actually trying to experiment with some of these techniques, the undergrads are actually going to be appraising, you know, your work. And so I'll show you on Blackboard where that will be. So you'll get to rate somebody like excellent, very good, average, needs improvement, not very good at all. I mean, you'll have a chance to kind of rate folks on a couple of key skills that you want to see in counselors. So again, this is going to be an engaging thing. I'm looking, this is, like I said, one of my favorite classes to teach, the favorite class that I have on my agenda, things that I do. So anyway, welcome, Heidi. Haley, let's do some catching up. Last time we talked, you were getting cattle up to Nebraska or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, got that done, then got rid of that one because he was a POS. But anyway, yeah. The boyfriend at that time.
Oh, okay. I
No,
thought you were
I'm-
talking about the
yeah.
bull. All right.
Yeah, I had in fact, firsthand knowledge of his drug and alcohol. Didn't know about the drug experience. That was fun to find out. But right now I'm on the dual track. Should graduate in May. Kind of like everyone else, I'll work while I'm going through my master's program. But kind of heavy focus on abnormal psychology, and I want to do the
DC?
let's see, LADC, I'm sorry. My brain is not functioning yet. Monday. But I do have quite a bit of family history of alcoholism. One caused to suicide due to pills and alcohol, and so I know a lot about the aspect of it. I haven't ever been to treatment myself. I had a alcohol problem, mostly with whiskey. I quit drinking whiskey about 6 years ago. I still drink beer, but it's okay. But anyway, so I kind of know the struggles of getting off and understanding that. And I currently actually have my best friend that I didn't even know has a drug problem, and so she's in rehab and getting out, I think, next week from somewhere down by San Antonio, I think.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of been an interesting summer.
This is, yeah, definitely. There's a lot going on recently. Definitely a lot of things relevant to things that you've experienced. So I'm hopeful this class will help fill in any questions and hopefully provide some answers, you know, moving forward, and hopefully it'll be beneficial in where you're going.
Right.
So, right on. Welcome.
Yeah, I think it will be.
Right on. It's good to see you again, Haley.
You too.
Thanks. All right, let's move on to Daniel, and then I'll also hear from Julia. So, Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself. Uh-oh, I've got to unmute you. My fault. I muted your campus, and so, oh no, because I could hear you guys, but Hendrix was playing guitar in the background, so I could kind of hear you, but I'm gonna have to let's see. Stevie Ray Vaughan was a good guitarist. Who else? Let's see. Somebody that used a lot of feedback. Clapton is usually pretty clean. Sorry, I'm going on with my Jimmy Page. Yeah, it sounded like Jimmy Page with the violin trying to play the guitar. That's a good one. Sorry, getting off on a lot of people don't know who the heck I'm talking about. That's all right. Daniel, go ahead.
Can you hear us yet?
I can. Thank you, sir.
You can? All right. Just wanna double
Absolutely.
check. All right. I'm an undergraduate student. This is actually my first semester at Northwestern. I just got my associates from NOC in criminal justice.
Welcome.
My major is political science, but my minor's in psychology. I've always loved psychology. I've always had a thing for it. And I personally haven't had any addiction issues. Personally, I have had family members go to rehab. I've had a couple of them, but it's worked out in the best for both of them when they've come back and they've been clean for like 5 years each or something like that. The main thing I want to get out of this class is because after I get my bachelor's, I want to go to law school and I want to be a defense attorney, and I'm going to have to deal with a lot of clients, you know, that deal with substance abuse and their addiction and all that. I would like to have a good approach to be able to help my clients to the best of my ability in that kind of scenario.
I really appreciate that perspective. You know, I worked, like I said, with the drug court for a long time. And the drug court has a judge, a prosecuting attorney, and a defense attorney, you know, probation, you know, counseling. That was, honestly, I learned so much in those years when I did that, because I learned a lot about the legal system as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll try to impart what I know and interrupt me, send me chats, do whatever, try to flag me down if there's something that stands out where you'd like more information. And I'll try to remember as well that that's one of your, you know, one of your passions, and that's what you're, you know, looking to do. So,
All right, well, I appreciate it.
yeah, no worries. I hopefully will have some things that can help with your perspective there. But right on. Nice to meet you, Daniel.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, let's go on to Julia.
Hi, I'm an undergrad. I actually just graduated from NOC, which was criminal justice. My major is corrections, and my minor is psychology for substance abuse. I don't have any treatment experience myself. I do have great taste in men. Just kidding, that's not funny, but it's pretty accurate. Anyways, but so I do have some experience as far as addictions go. I have my ex, whom is a very close friend to me, but his father killed himself when he was 4. He was an addict. His mother killed himself when she was 14, or herself when she was 14. He was 14. And she was also an addict, and he found her. He's had a really hard life. He's deaf. And so I've watched it, and I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I went into it, because he had a really hard life, and also, you know, experienced a lot of substance abuse and seeing how it affected him. I just really wanted to understand it, I guess, and then it became a passion of mine. So, and then I don't want any kid to ever go through that, and just not, you know, have someone to be there, you know. So I guess that's why I'm here, and I like this class simply because, or chose this class, because I want more knowledge on it. I had the Intro to Addictive Behavior, and I love that class. Yeah, and so this was just something, you know, to add on a little more knowledge about that, and it's something that I really seem to enjoy. So
I'm glad. That's cool. It's nice to meet you, Julia. I'm glad you had a little bit of experience with the class, you know, the Intro to Addictive Behavior. That's always helpful to have a little bit of theoretical background. And definitely very, very deep, meaningful, you know, information that that hopefully can be applied to you moving forward in your life. And it sounds like you got a lot of passion for this. So, yeah, as same thing I mentioned to Daniel, as you run across things, if you want more information, you know, please flag me down. I don't know, you guys can't really chat me from the UC room there. However, if you all do have good internet connections, you can log in. You don't have to necessarily go to campus. You can log in from your own sites, and sometimes that's a little bit easier to interact that way, at least via Zoom. So yeah, welcome, Julia.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Leslie.
Sorry, I'm struggling a little bit over here. I am at the Alva campus. I'm in the master's program of psychology, going for my LADC. What do? I work out at the prison here in Alva as a counselor. So I have a little bit of experience with that and working with the inmates. I have a lot of family history with substance abuse as well. I had an aunt even OD a couple years ago. So I've kind of seen that firsthand a little bit. My expectations for the class, hopefully just to gain more knowledge that will help me in the career and help me as I go through with helping people and understanding why it happens. And I hope to use the information given to help me with my career and keep me moving forward in the right direction.
Good. With working at LA, or excuse me, with working at Bill Johnson, you will definitely find techniques that you can readily apply, especially, you know, at the end of the course. There's one manualized treatment here, and this kind of goes back to a little bit of what Julia was just discussing with trauma. This particular technique combines, the research behind it shows that it's effective in reducing symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder and also substance use disorders. So it's good to alleviate, you know, suffering in both of those behavior disorder categories. Yeah, I'm looking forward to you know, given this, because there's actually things you can do as a bachelor's level person without a license in here, without, you know, like I said, without being licensed. So that's what made me think about this one. So
Is that the book we have for this semester, or is that a different book?
Oh no, this is a different book, but I will share components of it with you at the end. This is actually the last couple of weeks of class. We'll cover some things out of here to help treat trauma and also addiction. That's one of the things we'll spend some time talking about early on. Trauma is what we found in the past 20 years. We found a lot of things out in the past 20 years, but what we found is that trauma is very heavily correlated with addictive disorders, and we're recognizing the impact of adverse traumatic childhood experiences and how they relate to people, you know, becoming addicted to things later in life. So yeah, we'll definitely put those two things together and synthesize them. But welcome, good to see you again, Leslie.
You too.
Thanks. All right, Frank.
My name is Frank. I'm almost a senior, and I'm on the school board, the Enid School Board, and I want to gain from this course the skills that I'm going to need to offer a solution, if you will, or a cure to return people who have been in the military and who suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome, family members that are affected by it. And it's going to take me a little while to get there. I know I've got some hurdles, I got some people and circumstances to overcome, but I believe for me to offer up some people that kind of relief, I'm willing to go through it. And I'm looking forward to working with y'all. I'm looking forward to listening to you undergrads counseling. I've been on the receiving end of the counseling. I've got experience with addiction personally, with family members, with friends, but I don't have any experience. I got experience answering questions about it, but I ain't got no experience in asking them. So I'm real excited to see those you undergrads when you get started with it. I'm real excited to see it. And it's good seeing you, Mr. Randolph.
Thank you. Good to see you too, Frank. Good to see you again. Glad we're glad we're finally back together on the same campus, even though it's at a distance a little bit. So very cool. Yeah, the graduates, it's always one of the highlights of the course. Let's do a head count really quick. How many graduate students do we have? Raise your hand if you're a grad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not too many. Oh, wow. I'm going to have to do a lot of demos because last semester I had at least a dozen. I think I had more than a dozen grad students in this class last year when I taught this. So we had a lot of presentations. So
what qualifies you as a grad student?
A grad student, if you have your bachelor's degree and you're taking this class at a 5,000 level.
Okay.
Are you there with us, Mariah?
I'm not.
Not yet?
Yet.
Okay. Okay, well, that's all right.
I'll graduate with my bachelor's.
So I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you. Welcome again, Frank. Let's go to Kimberly. Kimberly Engel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So I attend the University Center here in Ponca. I'll be graduating in May with my bachelor's. I'm majoring in psych and minoring in substance abuse. I mean, on both sides of my family, it's a long history of drug addiction, alcohol, everything on both sides. So I grew up with it. I've been around it my whole life. I have 3 siblings and all of them are addicts. So I've been to programs with them all, AA meetings, NA meetings, just for support and whatnot. So I've dealt with that forever. And so I've done my fair share of partying and drinking because it was the norm. It's what we did. And so I guess that's kind of what sparked the interest for me anyway. Just being a young kid living in it. I got pregnant when I was in 8th grade. So I've always wanted to be that person for somebody else, for some other kid going through the same thing because I can relate with them. So I guess that's why I'm here and just wanting to get out as much as I can out of it just for the future.
Right on. That's a lot of passion. I appreciate the heart and the intention that you have behind being here. So very cool. And one thing I'm picking up as folks go through here and talk, what are some things that you see in common with all of our classmates as we're sharing? What kind of themes are folks picking up? I'm picking up that there's a lot of common suffering. There's a lot of people that have, if not experienced it firsthand, experienced it a very close relative, very close friend. So addiction really cuts across, like I said, cuts across all barriers. So Kimberly, I appreciate your perspective. I look forward to having you in class, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Jaden. Jaden, is that a porcelain head that's next to you there, or?
Oh, it's an elephant actually.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I thought that maybe it was like the side, like it was like a Michelangelo sculpture, and it was like the side of somebody's head. I thought maybe there was going to be an ear just out of screenshot. But no, I appreciate knowing that. And I used to have a nice stand on my own phone, but I do the same thing to try to get the camera to work. So welcome, Jaden. Jaden, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I work out there. I've had experience with drugs and alcohol, family, friends. I've had addiction problems in my younger years. Degree-wise, I'm doing social work with a minor in psych, and I think I want to do a master's of social work and maybe LPC later. To work with adolescents and kids. But I don't know yet. I'm just kind of floating by right now.
That's cool. If you don't know about something, go take a class and find out if you like it. If you don't like it, take another class. So
I'm
that
not in a hurry.
well, no worries. I hopefully you'll find some things that are beneficial in this class.
Yeah.
Welcome, Jaden. It's good to see you. Good to have you in class.
Thanks.
All right, Kirk.
Well, hey guys, I'm Kirk Rogers. I'm in the, let me bring up the list here of what I'm supposed to talk about. I'm actually in the Masters of General Psychology program. This is my second semester in the program, so I'm really looking forward to this class. I think when you're talking about addictions and addiction counseling, that's something that I know I probably run into every single day, just like a lot of other people in this class. I mean, when you're out working in law enforcement or EMS, you certainly run into a lot of addiction issues. So, it's kind of nice to have this kind of a background. My biggest issue, and probably the thing that I'm going to do my little addiction papers on, is I think somebody mentioned it earlier that their mother was addicted to pop and the sugar and the caffeine. And I know I'm certainly one of those people too. And so actually one of the things I'm hoping to do during this class, and it's funny that we're talking about trying to kick some of those addictions, I'm going to try to quit drinking pop. I'm going to try to stay away from the caffeine and the sugars and everything else. I did that for a while, and when COVID hit, I'm sure I was probably like a lot of other people, my diet went south, and they talk about the COVID-15. I think I did the COVID-25. So I'm wanting to get back into a routine of diet and exercise, and really watching some of the things that I'm putting into my body. And so this will kind of be a nice little experiment to track and monitor that. So I guess that's one of the things I hope to get from this class, but I also hope to get a better understanding of, some addictions and some of the ways that we can help people alleviate some of those addictions as well. So I'm looking forward to the class, and I'm looking forward to interacting with each and every one of you. So I guess I didn't explain what I do. I do a little bit of everything. I am an instructor here at Northwestern Oklahoma State University in the criminal justice program. I'm also a working law enforcement officer. I also work part-time in the emergency medical services. And I'm also in the Kansas Air National Guard. So I wear a lot of different hats, and I say I'm an expert or a master of none of them. So.
Oh, Professor Rogers, welcome to class. I appreciate all those different perspectives that you bring to the table. Each one of them will be equally engaging and valuable. So I appreciate especially, your perspective as an EMS and what you encounter, people that may have overdosed or, encountered some.
You know what, all kidding aside, I think you're probably making a good choice going with the alternate teaching right off the bat, because I don't think a lot of people realize that the COVID stuff right now is a lot worse than the first time we quarantined, and I don't think people realize just how bad it is right now. I mean, we're actually starting to see deaths in this area that are COVID related, and we're starting to see some of these clusters pop up because of the social interaction and stuff like that. So stay safe, guys. Be careful, really. I mean, I got a text just a little bit ago about an EMS, we call it a code black, somebody that was positive COVID that was code black. They found them dead. So it's here, and it's getting worse. So.
Wow.
Anyway, my bad.
No, I appreciate your perspective from healthcare and what you do to help people. So I agree with you. I don't think that people know how serious this is. I have a lot of people who are pretty frivolous about
Those
it.
people that say they're counselors in prison right now, I do not envy you. So that's where a lot of those clusters are popping up, is in correctional settings. So anyway.
Well, I appreciate that perspective. Thank you, Professor Rogers. And I appreciate your humor too when it comes out. So let's see here. I haven't heard from Mariah or Chastity quite yet. So Mariah, you were cutting out a little bit earlier, so hopefully the mic is working.
I am majoring in psychology and minoring in drug abuse counseling. This will be my second junior semester. I'm supposed to graduate next December. I'm a full student right now. At the beginning of COVID, I was actually laid off. So I'm just staying at home right now. I don't have any experience personally with any drugs or alcohol abuse, but one of my best friends from high school just recently went to California for rehabilitation. And my fiance as well is a recovering addict. He's been sober for almost 3 years now.
Okay.
And I hope to gain more knowledge from this class and helping me get my degree.
Yeah, I appreciate your perspective, and you said you got the substance abuse counseling minor. Definitely, this is probably hopefully one of the primary courses in that minor to help find a theoretical and hands-on way of helping people. So welcome. It's nice to meet you, Mariah. All right, let's go to out in Woodward and Chastity. Chastity has a touch screen. There she is.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I tried to call in on my laptop, but I'm physically at the campus, which is why I have to wear my mask.
Oh, okay.
So I changed over to my phone because the campus Wi-Fi doesn't like my laptop. Sorry.
That's frustrating.
So yes. So I'm a senior this year with a psychology bachelor's. So I'm going for, and then my minor is substance abuse. The experience I have is like my dad, he really struggled with drugs and alcohol, and he's currently in a treatment. And I don't know, it's a little rocky there. What I plan to get out of this class is mostly just information on like how I can help him. And then also, like a previous class I've had with you, I told you how I used to work at the Garfield Juvenile Detention Center. And I had a lot of teens who came through there because of drug court. And even though I'm in Woodward, when I graduate, I would like to go back working through the juvenile system to work with kids who are struggling with alcohol and drug addiction problems. So that's my plan.
That's a cool, you're making a good connection with me mentioning the juvenile drug court. It just it's such a it was such a life-changing thing for me as far as a counselor, but I also saw a lot of life-changing events for the adolescents too. It depends on the group, it depends on the cohort. If you have quite a few people that don't take it serious, that their attitudes aren't in the right place, it can be pretty bad. But I was very fortunate in that there were a group of about 5 or 6 young men and a couple of young ladies as well who for whatever reason really bonded and became really positive support. Now they weren't perfect by any means, but if you look at where they are now, they're successful, they're employed, they have families. They're not in prison. They're not, maybe one of them has, too much to drink occasionally, but for the most part, most of them haven't turned out bad. I mean, it was a really good experience for quite a few of them. So a lot of my successes that I can, well, if I consider them as successes, a lot of the success that my clients have had came from that from that cohort and that support that they get. And really the last resort is putting somebody in detention. So I hated, you kind of see them at the bottom of the rung of the ladder, when they're in detention. But anyway, nice to see you, Chastity. Welcome to class. Hope to give a lot of good information here.
I'm excited. Thanks.
Cool. All right. Well, let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's talk a little bit about the expectations. So I'm going to try to cut to the chase. Well, I probably better talk about myself for a minute. So for those of you that don't know me, I've got a whole bunch of initials at the end of my name, which absolutely means nothing. It just means that I'm insecure and I need to put a bunch of initials at the end of my name to make myself seem important. No, really, hopefully I will simplify that. I'm hopeful in the next year of achieving a PhD. I have a dissertation to finish, and then I can just throw away all those other letters and those accomplishments, and those will go somewhere down on a resume or Vita somewhere. I've been an instructor of psychology here at Northwestern since, adjunct. I started adjuncting in 2013. I started teaching here full time in 2016. Before that, I grew up here in Enid. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life going into college, so I was interested in psychology, so that's what I majored in. I got about halfway through my program, got it to be a junior, and my friends were going, "What are you going to do with psychology? Are you going to counsel people?" But no, I'm not going to counsel people. What are you talking about? The adolescent mindset, machismo, testosterone. So I took a couple semesters of business and got into finance and figured out, I didn't really like that. So I got back into psychology and then took a lot of 18-hour and a 21-hour semester and still finished in 4 years. So right after I got a degree in psychology, I went to work in business for 4 years. So that's the way things go. I got sick of selling. I worked for an office supply company called Merrifield's. I got sick of selling pencils to people. I don't know, that's just not the most exciting thing, most fulfilling thing in the world, or it wasn't for me. And so I got a job at Meadow Lake Hospital there in 2000, you can see, and that really changed my life. I really didn't have any clue about mental health treatment, about psychological treatment, and I'll come back to that later. But it was really, working with kids that were hospitalized because they weren't safe to be walking around in society. That really changed the trajectory of what I was doing, and in a good way. So I worked in Meadow Lake for a total of 6 years. I became their charge therapist at one point there in 2006. Did that for a couple of years. I worked in an adult rehab. That's really where I get a lot. And also, I mentioned working at the juvenile drug court and a little bit with the adult drug court here in Enid. So I have altogether about, I would say 5 or 6 years devoted to substance use in my Vita, in my work history, substance use addictions treatment. And that really, I would say that year I spent at 12 and 12 as a case manager and counselor is probably some of the most intensive learning I've ever had, just because I was, a white kid from culturally homogenous Enid, trying to figure out, the bigger world that, is Tulsa, Oklahoma, and even that's pretty culturally homogenous, but it's not necessarily the biggest melting pot. But I definitely learned a lot. Definitely learned a lot in that, and so I will share some of those experiences as we go throughout the class. I have a few goals for your learning, and I really want folks to kind of, if you look at our textbook, this will be the primary text that we consult, and so you can see that it says substance abuse treatment for youth and adolescent, or youth and adults, Clinician's Guide to Evidence-Based Practice. What is evidence-based practice? Any takers on that one?
It means they physically have like worked with these people in order to write this book.
Somewhat. Yeah, they did work with people to find the techniques. I will say that the authors didn't create all the techniques that are in this book. They're actually borrowing them from others.
They've been researched the most.
Bingo! Is that Kohana? $64,000 winner, checking in late. Got the $64,000 question right, and it's not fair because everybody else has been here for an hour, with focused on Zoom. So anyway, yeah, it means it's been researched, and so the techniques that we're going to really address and focus on in this class are evidence-based. They're supported by research, which means there's control groups, there's experimental groups. Usually, when you have a research-based technique, you have to treat somebody. So if you have somebody that's got an addiction, you can't just say, okay, well, we're not going to treat you in this experiment, but we are going to treat these other folks over here. That's not ethical. So what they do is they tend to have like treatment as usual group, what you would normally do for somebody with addiction, and then they try these other more experimental methods. So they then compare them across groups, and so that's a good way. Just know that when we talk about things, it's not just, I think this might work. I really rely a lot on research when I'm talking to you about substance use. So some of the things that I'll talk to you about may shake up some of the preconceived notions that you have about addiction. Now, one thing that I notice about this group is that virtually all of you have, or a vast majority of you have seen addiction face to face. And so a lot of the things that I mentioned, you might say, oh, that's what you call it, or, oh, I didn't know that. And there may be some things that I maybe shake you up a little bit, and some of the preconceived notions may be wrong. And if you ever find a place where you're like, it's wrong, challenge me. I want you to challenge me. If you find things that I say that are just, they don't sit well with you, that's part of, the discourse for this class. I do want a good discussion. I do want folks to have an increased appreciation and understanding for the multifaceted influences that impact addiction-related disorders. So one of the things that you should get as you move out of undergraduate school is an appreciation that it's not really just, one cause and here's the effect. It's a multiplicity of causes, and then here are the effects. So, and oftentimes it's hard to discern which one causes what. I want each one of you, so even if you're an undergraduate student, most of you are, I want you to kind of think about which one of these techniques, and there'll be more that I cover that are just, it's not just going to be the book. There'll be other things that I've been trained in that I'm going to help, us cover in this class. You'll be able to kind of compare and contrast and kind of think about for yourself, which ones of these might be most effective for who I might work with or who I might encounter in my life, like Daniel with, as being a defense attorney. Maybe I want to use this because even though it's not like in-depth, talking about somebody's early childhood on working through their addiction, it may be a way of talking to somebody, and we'll cover that. There's a way of talking to people that have addictions to keep them talking. What's one of the things that is very difficult if you're working with somebody who is not ready to change their addiction? What are those reactions typically like if you confront them?
They don't have a problem. Nothing's wrong.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. The old denial. I don't have a problem. Nothing's wrong. Well, so there's been a technique developed. It's called motivational interviewing, and it's something that each one of us can practice. You don't have to be an expert in the field. This is actually relatively easy to kind of access and start using. But one of the supplementary texts that we're going to use is this book by Bill Miller and Stephen Rolnick. And it talks about how to roll with resistance when people get all up in arms over I don't have an addiction. You're the one with the problem. You know, well, there are ways to approach that. There are ways to approach people that come back with that sort of response. So so I want each one of you to kind of appraise these ideas as we go, and what might work for you. I want you to develop skills. Obviously, those that are in the LADC track in the graduate program. I want you to actually work on your skills to be a counselor. That's why we're not meeting face to face, because I want you to work on this and to get feedback. And I want to provide evidence-based information, because those of you that are on the LADC track, you'll be taking an IC and RC national exam to you know, it's a multiple choice exam, kind of similar to the national counselor exam for LPCs, that helps you get your LADC. You have to pass it, and so it's you know, we'll talk about that a little bit. You're welcome to read this as far as what the class is. This comes for the course catalog, and that brings us all the way to addiction. So I'm gonna stop there, and we're gonna go ahead and call it a day, since we've come to our time. So gang, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and listening to you and hearing why you're in the class and what your motivations are. I'm excited to work with each one of you, and I look forward to hearing from you too. So if you have any questions in the meantime, we'll continue to, you're like, well, crap, the syllabus, he didn't get to the syllabus. We're going to cover the syllabus Wednesday, and hopefully there'll be more of us, because there should be about 4 or 5 more of us in the class. And we're going to cover the syllabus Wednesday. I'd encourage you to look it over and come with questions, that, because I will have, there's one thing I have in there that's not in the syllabus, and it's going to be the journal. And the journal is going to be a way, if you bomb a test, the journal will be a way for you to like replace that low test grade. So that's kind of the thinking there, but we'll get there. We'll meet back Wednesday at 3:25. Otherwise, any last thoughts before we break out of here? Yes, Isis.
I have a quick question. It's probably self-explanatory, but I just want to make sure. The textbook require is the substance abuse treatment for youth and adult, and then the other two, they're not mandatory to have, right?
They're not required. Really, the folks that may, it kind of depends. I would hold out if I unless you just really head over heels, I'm going to be a substance use counselor and addictions counselor. If that's where you're going, then yeah, you might as well invest in these. If you're still kind of on the fence and you don't know, or if you're kind of, I don't have the money for that right now, just wait, and we'll kind of delve into these,
All right.
2 books, and you can kind of see when we talk about them in class whether it's worth your investment. But no, I'm not going to ask test questions. I'm not going to really require these 2, but it's just,
All right.
they're there for if you want them.
Okay.
Good question. Okay, anything else?
Did you get that book list?
The
I know
book
I
list-
emailed you separately about that.
I don't know.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I don't have the book list. You might remind me again, because I've had a lot of advisement questions. But yes,
Okay, no worries. I was
yeah.
just wondering.
yes, those are 2 of them. Those would be 2 books. Anything else? Okay. If not, I will see you guys Wednesday. Good to see y'all. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.